very warm welcome to all our viewers and welcome to a new edition of Today's Youth, where we bring you, of course, a member of the Egyptian youth population, and we talk with them about all their favorite activities as well as all, the events that they have been taking part on, as well as their take on the Egyptian youth. And today we're delighted to be joined in the studio by our guest, Mr. Mohammed Abdul Wahab Aimer, who is a professional Arabic to English translator as well as interpreter, as well as a trainer of English language and lecturer. Mr. Mohammed, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, Angie. Thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity to talk to young people from the Egyptian television. One doesn't get the privilege to be here every day. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming in, Mr. Mohammed. And let's start, at the very beginning, when you decided to study, translation, which is a very, very popular field, but a difficult field, really, to major in.
But it's amazing. I'm a graduate of Faculty of Arts 2010, and I got my master's degree in 2015, and now I'm finishing my PhD studies on the same specialty. So I really like this specialty. Working in translation made me learn a lot of cultures and languages and characteristics of different countries. It's very amazing to be a translator, and after that, I worked as an interpreter. This indulged me into the work of conferencing and conference management, which is very amazing as well. So combining between translation and interpreting, I like it so much.
Interpreting is actually quite challenging because it's timely. You're listening and speaking at the same time.
You do not have time or the leisure of time to look for a word or an expression. You need to know a lot of information instantly.
In advance.
If you do not have this information, you're going to
struggle.
Yes, of course.
So tell me, as someone who studied the English language and such a very important skill as interpreting and translating, what stands out for you, in this profession?
I like this profession because it gives me the background of every single culture. I have interpreted and translated like 10 books from 2015 to 2020, and every single book I learned something new. And especially the last book that I translated in 2020 talks about the history of Vikings. I've watched the famous TV show, but reading a book, it's
totally different.
Much different.
So you've translated it from English to Arabic?
From English into Arabic in books, but you can translate from Arabic into English in different conferences and different documents. You can work vice versa.
Let me ask you, Mohammed, what is easier, to translate from Arabic to English or from English to Arabic?
As an Egyptian, it's much easier to translate into Arabic, but you need to be ready for the job market. The job market asks for or requires translator to English. You need to be ready.
Because the Arabic language is very rich, and there's lots of terminologies.
A lot of rules, grammar. The grammatical rules in Arabic is much more complex and sophisticated than English and any other languages.
Do you struggle with things like jargon? So, for example, if you are in an economic conference,
of course, because
and there's lots of different, business jargon.
A lot of young people ask me, can I be specialized in a single specialty? I tell them you can work in every single specialty, but you will. By the end, you will have your own preferences. For myself, I like politics, literature, I like criticism, I like sociology, working with the United Nations. But there are some specialties that I do not prefer, like technicalities, numbers, working with numbers. It's somehow difficult, but every single person has his own preferences, of course.
Right. So, Mohammed, let me ask you, you've taken part in the Presidential Leadership Program, a very, very important initiative by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, made specifically and designed for Egyptian youth. Could you tell me a bit about your experiences?
Okay, from the first day of his presidency, His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi focused on empowering young people. And 2 years after that, and especially 2016, he called that year the year of young people, and then he launched what we call the Presidential Leadership Program, or the PLP. The program is a training program which focuses on graduating young people who are able to manage the administrative system of the country. After a few years, we have learned a lot of skills, a lot of strategies, and a lot of sciences in administration and politics and national security, a lot of sciences. And after that, the system itself indulges and injects young people in the administrative system so we can get benefit from the powers of those young people in administering the country.
So it's really an opportunity for the youth.
Of course.
And it helps you, you know, with finding employment afterwards, opening new avenues for jobs for the
Of course,
youth.
if you are skilled enough, if you are mastered enough in your skills, you can find your own spot. I find myself in managing conferences, in translation and interpreting, so I didn't get far from my own specialty, but I really developed my skills, so I'm really, really, really adapted to that program.
And Mr. Mohammed, you also met a lot of youth during the presidential leadership program.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about your experience meeting different Egyptian youth, you know, their ambitions, because
Yes.
Egyptian youth are very ambitious
You know,
in this
I
program.
joined the program in 2016, so from my graduation to 2016, I only met translators, teachers, and English people. So after that, I met doctors, teachers. I met different people from different specialties that enriched my awareness of my surroundings. I met a lot of friends out there. I made a lot of friendships from different specialties. So I think this was one of the main benefits of the program. You make your own network of people, young people, your friends, your mates, your colleagues, and then you indulge yourself into different fields. So I didn't lift translation and interpreting, but I focused on politics, on sociology, on SDGs, on working with different organizations, on field work. That was not there before 2016. So I think this was the most amazing thing about the program.
Absolutely. And just being in the field really changes your perception.
Yes, of course.
Your whole reality
this is
shifts.
one of the most critical points of my life, because I had different thoughts and small thoughts maybe before the program. But after going into the program, I felt like I need to know a lot of things about the state, about the country, about its people, about the sectors here in Egypt. I need to know a lot of information, and we learned a lot of information about the new projects, the mega projects, and not only information. I went to those projects and I saw
Where
them
did you go?
myself. The administrative capital, Road Farag Access. It was only bricks and a lot of projects. So it was an amazing experience, believe me.
Indeed, quite an eye-opener. Right, Mr. Mohammed. And ladies and gentlemen, a short break and we'll be right back to continue with our guest this afternoon. Do stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and still with you and our guest joining us this afternoon on this edition of Today's Youth, Mr. Mohammed Abdul Wahab, Aimer, our translator and interpreter. Thank you once again for joining us this afternoon. So just before the break, we were talking about your experience in the Presidential Leadership Program and how it really changed, you know, your viewpoint and your reality as a whole. From there, we moved to the World Youth Forum, another amazing opportunity which you took part in. Could you tell us a bit about your experience? And you took part twice in the World Youth Forum.
4 times.
Oh, wow, 4 times. All right. So tell me the first time you took part and how this came along, and then we'll discuss the other time.
If you are a graduate of the Presidential Leadership Program, you are directly a member of the organizing committee of the WIF, because WIF, or the World Youth Forum, is one of the main ideas that get out of the Presidential Leadership Program. So organizing the first one in Sharm el-Sheikh, it was a very, very good experience, because this was my first experience with managing and administering conferences. I was a member of the media committee because I like media so much, and it's very close to language, to English, to translation. So I went to this certain committee, and I didn't change my committees from the first experience to the fourth experience. So the first one, we focused on the critical subject of terrorism, and we had a very critical session, a mock session from the United Nations Security Council, focusing on counterfeiting terrorism. After that, we made a lot of experiences and mock experiences to indulge much more people and young people into these sessions. So starting from the first WIF to the fourth edition, we canceled only the 2020 because of the COVID-19 crisis, and we just finished it in January, the last January, and we are now ready for the fifth edition in the next coming January inshallah, after the COP27.
So tell me, you said you were in the media committee. What were the responsibilities of the media
Yes.
committee? And especially because you were dealing with youth from all over the world, so you had to have coverage to suit,
I
that
was
magnitude.
sure that with you like this so
Yes.
much. I was ready for and I'm responsible for giving out media statements to media men and responsibles, and I'm writing a lot of media statements about every single session.
So press releases
Yes,
to the media.
yes, of course, a lot of statements, and I also give words to different channels, and we had a lot of channels from Egypt, from
And abroad.
yes, from abroad. So I was writing statements, press releases, and also took to these channels.
So tell me, the youth that you've met from all around the world, what were their,
Yes.
perceptions? How did they? Some of them, it was their first time to visit Egypt and at the beautiful Red Sea Resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh. A very, very
Yes.
amazing opportunity for youth from all around the world. As for you, as a member of an organizing committee, how was your reception? How was their perception of Egypt?
Yes, it starts in the plane itself. I
Yes,
would
from the
traveling
moment you land, yes.
from Cairo to Sharm el-Sheikh, and I met a lot of young people in the plane itself, and they asked me, "Are you going there?" Yes, I'm a member of the organizing committee. So they asked me a lot of information about Egypt.
Like what,
not only-
Mohammed? Could you tell me, what
like
were their
the main
interests?
places they can visit. These young people didn't visit Egypt before, and we were like above Sinai, and they asking me about the pyramids. Can we go there now? And I tell them, okay, you can go
Maybe a
there.
bit earlier.
You can go after the event, inshallah. So they asked me a lot of the main places in Egypt, how to deal with young people, how to deal with the Egyptian people, and how to consume Egyptian food. They asked a lot of questions about Egyptian food. So I told them about falafel, koshari. They can
Well, our
go to
traditional
Hussein. They
meals.
can, yes, traditional food in Egypt.
So
yes.
they were interested, for tourism as well as
Yes.
cultural experiences
yes,
in Egypt.
of
But there was
course.
also a political, side to the World Youth Forum.
Yes.
Lots of topics, as you said, security, terrorism, economic development, sustainable development.
Yes, of
Lots of
course.
different topics were under discussion
Yes.
during the World Youth Forum. Tell me a bit about that, side.
Okay,
of
this was the
meeting.
result of a lot of discussions before the World Youth Forum. The World Youth Forum is the international step of the national conferences here in Egypt.
Yes.
And in one of those conferences, we discovered the idea of the World Youth Forum. So we turned the ideas that are discussed in the national conferences into an international scale, focusing on sustainable development, fighting terrorism, financing and budgeting young people, how to solve major problems that challenges a lot of young people. These are the main brief cases and a lot of subjects we discussed in these conferences, and especially the last one, the last World Youth Forum, we focused on the next coming COP27, which will be held in November in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. This is a very, very promising opportunity to every single young people, and I really want to seize this opportunity to invite young people to focus on this particular event. This is our first time to host this wide-scale conference. You're going to benefit a lot from. If you're not invited to go there, if you didn't have the opportunity to go there, you can watch the conference on TV and learn about climate change and how the state is dealing with climate change. This was one of the most amazing profiles in the last World Youth Forum.
So, Mohammed, you mentioned, of course, the COP27, which
Yes.
Egypt will be hosting in November in the Red Sea Resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh. As a member of the youth population, tell me, how concerned are the youth with issues related to climate change? Is it, a priority at top of their agendas, or is it something they, just deal with on a day-to-day basis without actually considering the repercussions?
I noticed that it's not one of our priorities in our daily lives, but you have to consider that this affects and impacts directly your own life. It affects your health, it affects your money, it affects your family, it affects your jobs. Climate change affects your life directly. Egypt is not one of the countries that emits a lot of carbon, but we are
Affected.
one of the affected countries. We are badly affected by this. So hosting COP27 is an opportunity to discuss how affected are we. And after that, we're going to go to the COP28 in the United Arab Emirates. They are affected as well. So we are exchanging profiles, we're exchanging information and experiences hosted by young people. All of this huge work are done by young people. So I think the man in the street is going to learn about his own practices, the paper he consumes, the money he pays, the transportations he takes every single day. This affects your own health, and there is no anything that's more important than your health.
Absolutely.
So
And I can
think
see,
this
there is this movement and more awareness
Yes.
by the Egyptian youth
Yes, of
regarding their health. And, we see lots of cyclists, for example,
Yes, I just
people
told you.
rollerblading, skating, more, going to the gym, etc. There is more awareness when it comes, for example, to modes of transport. Lots of people are now
Yes,
choosing to take
yes, of
scooters
course.
or bicycles instead of the bus or a car.
Yes, I think this is
It's a
opportunity
movement.
to change our daily routine, our health routine. If you are driving your own car from your home to your work, and from your work to your home, you're not healthy enough. You can ride a bicycle, you can go on foot, you can use a lot of different healthy transportation. You're going to have a much healthier life. of
Indeed,
course.
right. And just before I take our next break, let me ask you about your final World Youth Forum that you took part in. What were your responsibilities? Were you still with the
Yes.
media committee, or did you
Yes,
branch
of course.
out?
I'm now the vice president of the media committee.
All right, very good.
Yes.
So tell me, what was the main role of the media committee
Okay.
on that round, and what made it more different? What was
Yes.
the different topics that were introduced than the first and second and third round?
In the last WIF, I was the vice president of the media committee. That certain time, I was responsible for the committee, the media committee itself. I was the president of the media committee that focuses on launching press releases and translating every single document that is inserted into the media. So every single piece of news that you watch it in the news is written, edited, and translated by us, by our committee. So I was
And how many languages were you dealing with?
I was the responsible of the English, Arabic,
Obviously.
and French.
So there was English, Arabic, and French.
Yes,
The three main.
those editions, yes. And we have other teams that focuses on maybe Italian, Portuguese, Chinese, of course, and Russian.
So there were all these languages available.
Yes, you need to have
coverage
those
for all the
languages.
languages.
Because we have a lot of young people from all over the world, so you
Indeed.
need to discuss with them
To
on their
cater for
languages,
them.
of course.
Absolutely right. Ladies and gentlemen, another short break, and we'll be right back to continue. Do stay tuned.